Hey guys, what's up? Toppe here. In this video we'll be discussing cheater recalling. Personally, I actually went from loving cheater recalling to realizing I was ruining my own solo queue games by doing it, and I really wanted to share this with you guys. So in this video we'll be discussing how you can do a efficient cheater recall versus how you can do a really bad cheater recall. A bad cheater recall can actually be pretty hard to spot because often it'll benefit you as an individual, but it might damage someone somewhere else in the map and will have actually really big consequences for that player, and that's why I find it really important to talk about, because it can be really hard to realize, and it's just something I realized myself by slowly declining in LP. So with all of that being said, let's get right into it. Okay, before I get into why cheater recalling can actually be a really bad thing, I want to make sure we all understand what it is. Opting for cheater recall means you're looking to back early without the enemies realizing or being able to respond to it by having a huge wave crashed under their turret. This forces them to stay in lane while you come back to a wave state where the enemies minions are slowly pushing back into you, so you can actually force them to stay by denying them to crash the wave into your turret, and that means that if they then decide to recall anyways, you can just freeze the wave and deny them an entire wave. So if we, for example, look at this Ash game, you can see that Tristana pushed hard into us, but she didn't actually complete the push, resulting in that our waves now started stacking up on our side, which means that with the gank of Hecarim, we can push back Tristana and the Blitzcrank, and therefore we're able to just stack up the waves slowly and stack up the waves. And you can see here around the 4-minute mark that we have a fully stacked 2x wave under the turret, and therefore I just go for the free recall in this scenario, where you can see I'm backing with 600 gold, so I can buy a cull or a longsword, or whatever you want to buy really. Another thing to mention is you can also see on the arrival back to lane, I actually pretty much haven't lost a single minion because the waves still haven't crashed under my own turret yet, and therefore cheater recalling becomes really effective in the way that when I come back to my lane, I haven't really lost anything, but I've gained an item and possibly can try to freeze the item or force into a fight, since I'm an item up on the enemy Tristana now. So essentially, if we look at the benefits of cheater recalling, you either get an extra longsword and some sort of potion, and sometimes you even get a cull and a potion. And this is all nice and stuff, but the most important part is that we get the free recall. Allowing us to get back on full HP and mana without losing out on any minions is huge when it comes to creating a lead, because you're not losing out on XP and gold, which is a huge factor when you're going for a lead. So far, all we heard about cheater recalling has been great, hasn't it? I purposely only shown the positive things about it so far to showcase the thing I said in the beginning of the video. Cheater recalling is almost always beneficial towards yourself, and this is pretty much true. So let's take a look on the rift of what other areas you might actually be damaging when you're doing a cheater recall, and how this potentially could cost you the entire game. Taking a look at this scenario here, we have a Misfortune and Senna who just shoved in a huge wave under Israel and Sion's turret, and is now looking to cheater recall at the 3-minute mark. If we zoom out from the bot lane, we can see that our Ivan jungle had started topside and is now proceeding to go do the bot side scuttle in river. As Ivan proceeds to do the scuttle, Sion ends up walking into the river, helping Rengar secure it and possibly even killing the Ivan, who is now tilted and pinging bot lane for not being there. Here you could argue that this is Ivan's own fault and he shouldn't even been trying to do the bot side scuttle, knowing that his bot lane were recalled. But the issue with this is that Ivan can't really go back to the top side because he already cleared his own top side, so he would be going back for just a scuttle, and that would be wasting a lot of time and XP, and therefore it's not really a possibility. But let's say that Ivan actually decides to go top side anyways. Well, in some games, to make it even worse, you don't know where the enemy jungler actually is or pathed, so if Ivan is really unlucky, he might run into the Rengar on the top side and die anyways. This will most likely make the Ivan really tilted and not feeling like even playing the game anymore, or just typing stuff like, well, no bot lane ganks for the rest of the game. Meanwhile, if the bot lane had stayed, they could just walk into the river and spend their lead to secure the scuttle, keeping a happy jungler, which is really important in solo queue. And therefore jungle pathing is probably the main factor to determine if you're allowed to cheater recall or not. But it's definitely not the only factor, so let's take a look at some of the other factors that is. Okay, back at square one, we just pushed in a huge wave and is now looking to cheater recall. This time our jungler started bot side and pathed towards top, so we don't have to worry about him. Instead of looking at jungle, we're now focused on the mid lane. In this case we can see Zed has pushed a wave into Malphite and is continuing to pressure him. This is a great time to roam because often, even in higher elo, you'll get away with this roam, if the enemies have no vision, of course. And the reason you'll get away with it is because they'll think you just recall to do the cheater recall. And this gives potential to catch Zed by surprise, and maybe even tilting him because his teammates didn't ping you missing, assuming that you just were going to cheater recall. This mid lane roam has great potential to impact the game further down the line than a longsword or a call ever will. Best case scenario, we kill Zed and burn his summoners, but even if we just get his summoners, we take a lot of pressure off of Malphite, which often will result in him not losing the lane as hard or maybe even turning it around. Of course, this roam could also flop if we roam over vision. Therefore, it's very important to pay attention during the laning phase if the enemies warded the river, and during the walk from river to mid, track Zed's movement. Often he'll make it very obvious by instant falling back if they see you. And in that case, we just take the recall regardless, or we go back bottom depending on how our HP, mana and wave state checks out. Once again, back to square one. We pushed in a huge wave and now we have the opportunity to cheater recall. This time we change our goal from cheater recalling to staying. We want to stay since we realize that our opponent is struggling with CSing on the turret and therefore we are slowly building up a lead. We also want to expand this small lead by making the enemy ADC take a bad recall. This can be done by continuously poking while he's trying to farm under the turret. Sometimes the enemy ADC will refuse to recall and end up dying to his own greediness. As soon as we kill him or he backs, we want to shove the wave in and match his reset. This way we build up an even bigger XP advantage, which is the first step to start snowballing. So while we have a huge wave crashed under the turret, we want to be utilizing our free time to get vision. And since the wave is under the turret, we are not in a rush and therefore can go for deeper vision. Often I'll plant my wards either deep in the river or in the jungle. This way we can get to play super aggressive, and if the enemy jungler shows butt side, we might want to back off just to show some respect and not throw the lane by accident. Sometimes in higher elo you'll even see the AD carry staying in lane to continue the poke while the support is going for the deep wards. Keep in mind, as an AD carry, you do not want to get caught while your support is missing out of your lane, and therefore you have to play a bit more safe because the enemy bot will look for any opportunity possible to engage on you, even if you're the healthier one. Because often they'll still win it if it's in a 2v1 situation. So you do want to keep poking, but you also want to play much more safe and not take any risky trades. So to sum this video up, here are the 3 things I want you to check before doing a cheater recall. Is your jungler pathing towards you? And does he need your presence to do the scuttle? If yes, then don't cheater recall. Is it possible to roam mid? Then always go for that before cheater recalling. And third, would it be optimal to stay in the lane to poke the enemies out? This one can be really hard to recognize and sometimes it might even be too risky, so get your wards out and try to experience for yourself to find out what works best for you in different situations. Okay, so to be 100% clear on why you should apply these quote-unquote rules, I guess we can call them, it's because it simply has more impact in the game and often solo queue games are determined during the early game. It's all mental, and I have seen countless of times where I actually opted for the cheater recall and then my jungler lost the scuttle because of it and therefore he just refused to play the game, which results in an auto loss. Because of this, I'd rather keep my junglers happy, since getting that longsword or call usually doesn't determine if I'm going to win my bot lane or lose my bot lane, even though it does help a little. And the same thing for the mid lane. Being able to tilt the enemy mid lane early on by roaming up and getting the summoners or even killing them has so much more impact. You might even snowball if you do get that kill, or your mid laner might snowball because you got the summoners. So just all of that has so much more impact than just getting that longsword in the early game, once again. And the last one, which I find really hard to explain because it's so much more advanced, because I would say it's different from each game if you should stay or not, which is why I recommend that you shouldn't be afraid to try out new things and see what happens as long as you learn from it. So with all of the information we just discussed, I want you guys to think of the clip that I showed you in the beginning of the video, which is also what you're seeing now. Here me and Jenna are actually doing a cheater recall. So from looking at the minimap and seeing all of the information you can gather, would you guys consider this a good cheater recall or a bad cheater recall? Please let me know what you think in the comments, because I'm really curious to hear what you guys take is from this video. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and I hope you found it really helpful. This is some issues that I actually have been doing in my own games, as I said in the beginning, and it's something that I felt that I really needed to share because I know it has been one of the reasons to why I've been declining in LP myself, and also feel more confident in playing after I kind of realized that I was making this mistake. Like, realizing you make a mistake and fixing it is probably one of the best feelings in the world, isn't it? So yeah, I'm really glad I figured it out, and I talked to like a bunch of other players, high elo players and stuff, so all of the information here is not just, you know, biased information coming from myself, but it's actually been discussed with other players. I think the highest was like around 500 LP. So yeah, it's like, it's something I really tried to study and figure out the right answers and everything. So I hope you guys really found it helpful. And a whole other thing, if you guys really made it here, I guess you're really loyal, and I appreciate that. So I want to ask you, I've been thinking about doing this where I upload another video, so one video every 7 weeks, but there's 7, so how to explain this? The other week where I'm not uploading, like, I guess you can say this kind of educational, like this video, that would be like a pro review. So we're like reviewing a pro player, analyzing what he does, and we do that every 2nd week to kind of bounce it off, because that will take a little less time, because the videos I'm doing right now are very time consuming and I put a lot of thought into them. So I hope you guys really enjoy them. Meanwhile, these other ones are of course still gonna be as good quality as I possibly can make them, and I want them to be as educational as possible, but it will be us just reviewing a game and trying to take away from what a pro player does in, like, let's say 1000 LP challenger, and maybe I can even learn a few things from doing that myself. So if you guys would be interested in that, please let me know down in the comments as well. I would be down to do it, but I just want to make sure that any of you guys are interested to do it as well. Otherwise, if you're interested in coaching with me, you can check out the Discord link down in the description, where you can find all the information about that. Otherwise, I just hope you guys enjoyed the video. Peace out. Much love, everyone. Bye. Hopefully I'll see you on my streams one day.